Hey, what's up, guys? Got back in their video, and today I'm going to do my review of Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, English dub, episode 18. So, here it goes there. So, start off with with the, with it there. We see, the science team there was talking to everybody there, mostly getting contact with everybody. Mostly the squad 8 captain there was actually was saying to um, we do see the squad 8 captain was talking to the science guy there, and mostly was telling everybody to get their positions there and stuff like that. Mostly their positions are totally different from the thing there. He was saying about that there. It was kind of funny. He said he technically interrupted his team with the enemy there, so I thought it was kind of funny that he kind of said that there to him. But he he's like how we're gonna do this, like all these positions there, and then he was explaining these positions there where all the captains were there. So they were having a hard time getting connection with the captains there and stuff like that. That's a name for the squad 8 captain there, who honestly was technically chilling the whole time with the enemy. so technically, uh, so technically the credits rolled there. After the credits there, we do see the wrestler, mostly in the previous episode, was mostly gets stopped by the two captains there, and mostly he said he's like, well, these are one of your lieutenants there, and he's like, what are you trying to hurt my men there? That's what the captain was actually saying. He said, yeah, one of these clowns are technically my lieutenants there, and you're beating the living crap out of them and shit like that. So, and he said, oh, bring it on, I can take you both on and stuff like that. So technically the wrestler technically bounces right on top of him, and mostly one of the captains uses his bonkai there, and mostly wrestler is like, bring it on, and then mostly he hits him there, and then didn't do nothing to him, didn't really make him budge there. He's like, oh, that's all you have? And he said, he's like, this is the only like attack you have, and one of my tenants got knocked out by you guys. He's like, and then mostly flings him across there, and make him smash into a building there. And then one of the Soul Reapers said to him there, saying, do not mess with him there. It's not really him you have to worry about, but mostly it was his assistant there, mostly you have to worry about there, who honestly made him, mostly his assistant was starting to cry there. He's like, oh, I made the little guy cry there. And mostly he was actually saying that there, saying mostly his assistant was the one who's honestly making him strong there. So mostly he said, mostly his like his assistant, like, you got it, you're like a superstar there. And then mostly he's like, oh, bring it on there. So he mostly attacks him. What the wrestler attacks one of the captain there. Mostly the captain was like getting massively pushed there, and mostly he actually gained more strength there, or the wrestler gained more strength. Him training, or the guy mostly turning him on there and stuff like that. So he knocks him all the way back there and stuff. Mostly he was losing his ground. Mostly technically lost that fight there. He's like, oh, this is too easy and stuff like that. The other captain was with him there. Mostly cuts, mostly slaughters the his like little partner there. Mostly it looks like he almost looks like he killed his like little partner there. He's like, oh, now you're pretty weak without him and stuff like that. That's what he was actually saying to him. And he's like, you bastard, you killed him and stuff like that. And so he mostly charges right at him there, and mostly trying to use attacks there and stuff like that. Mostly we see him using his Bankai there. His Bankai there was mostly the other captain there's Bankai uses like like melon notes there. He was like mostly a melon notes thing there, and he was like taking them on there. Mostly he put him in under like these like Bankai thing there. We see these statues going around the wrestler there. Mostly he puts him under, trying to put him underwater at first there, and then he's like, oh, this is not going to work there and stuff like that. So he technically singed, and then he turned into fire there. He's like, oh wait, he's like, how this is BS there. He's like, it doesn't make any sense if you turn the water into fire there, and that's what he was actually saying to him. So he's like, oh, and stuff like that. He's like, you know about the melodies, and then we'll see. Plugged his ears. He's like, well, that doesn't really work about plugging your ears. You're still gonna hear my Bankai there. And then mostly he technically erupted. He technically plugged him so hard he technically ruptured his ears there. So he technically ruptured them. I can't say it. Ruptured them there. So he ruptured his ears there, and he's like, wait, you ruptured your ears? And he's like, yeah, and stuff like that. So he uses attack on him and mostly taking him out there. Mostly he's like some star attack there, and mostly went through him and stuff like that, and mostly he falls down to the ground there. And then he's like, oh, you guys are worthless and stuff like that. That's what he was actually saying to him. And then out of nowhere, we do see Renji and Arukia come out of nowhere. And then they're like, he's like, oh, you took out both of the captains there. That's what Renji was actually saying to him. He's like, oh, what are you going to do about it and stuff like that. And technically, Renji was actually telling Rukia there, saying, take these guys and get out of here and try to get into the team there and try to heal them up there. So Rukia technically takes the two captains there and goes to the healing teams, and she mostly arrives to the healing teams. She said they needed help there. So when that was going on with that stuff there, we do see Renji taking on the captain, or taking on the guy there. First, he takes it, mostly the guy there was mostly hopping around. Mostly he didn't technically die there. He was just hopping around there. He's like, wait, what? And stuff like that. Renji was like, wait, what? How the heck he's alive there and stuff like that. He's like, yo, you're not going to do nothing against me and stuff like that for it. So he was like actually cheering him on there. And then mostly he attacks Renji with that star attack there. And then he mostly jumps out of the way there and stuff. And then he's like, he was starting to get annoyed with he was technically annoying Renji there. Mostly Renji cuts off the little guy's head off there. And he's like, he's annoying there and stuff. He's like, well, you bastard, you killed him and stuff. And mostly, like, technically he mostly just regenerate. This, like, little guy can friggin' regenerate there. So, well, what was the point there? And then it was mostly they were cheering him on there. So he mostly attacks Renji. Renji was getting pushed there at first, and mostly we do see something about his Bankai there. Mostly we do see like a flashback there when he was mostly healing there. Mostly they're saying something about his Bankai there. Mostly his Bankai doesn't really trust him there. And mostly he was actually getting something like a trust thing there. with the Bankais there and stuff like that. And he said the guy was actually saying he knows all the Bankais there, or all of these special attacks, the Zakmatos, the Bankais, everything about it there. And then he said your Bankai doesn't really trust you there, and that's what he was actually saying to him there. And mostly when he was getting attacked there, and mostly the wrestler used some fire attack there, and he's like, oh, and mostly technically shins the little guy he had. Like, what was the point there when he was giving you full power there? Why you cinched him? I don't get that. I didn't really get that why he cinched him. He's like, Master, and he's like, well, you've been a good little guy there. He's like, you and all that stuff there. He actually said that to him. And then Renji mostly activated his Bankai there, and then he's like, oh, he's use it for mostly use it for offense there, or use it for the last minute there. That's what he was actually saying. So Renji attacks him there with the Bankai there, and then he's like you're outnumbered there. So technically the wrestler couldn't do nothing there. He cuts his like max off. He's like, you cut my max off and stuff like that. So he gets pissed off there. And mostly he turns into like a different type of wrestler there, and he was ready to attack, and then I guess his max changed, and even Renji was like saying like, your max changed? Okay. And stuff like that. That's what he was actually saying. And then mostly he attacks him there. He mostly gets pushed, and Renji mostly comes in with Bankai and stabs and finally finish the wrestler off there. He finally finishes him off with his Bankai attack there. And that's where I think and he's like something, he's like saying, he's like, good night, superstar, or something like that. That's what Renji was actually saying. And then we seen that there when he said that there, and mostly we do see the credits there, and right after the credits there, we do see Hibuwei actually was talking to the head Quincy boss, and was actually saying, he's like, well, it's too bad he technically died there, but, and then mostly technically was resolving the guy who died there, or the wrestler who died there, and he was mostly resolving to him there, and then he was mostly has to go back for some reason there to rest up there. And then Hibuwei was saying something about that. He's like, why you're here there, and where's the master? And he was actually explaining about that there. So, yep, that's pretty much it. Comment, rate my sponsor, Toots Myrtles. We like Myrtles. Please subscribe. Hit that bell notification when I see my uploads in my live streams. Comment, sponsor, Toots Myrtles. Like, out of your peace.